From unknown parts of metropolitan New York City, I'm Hip and this is Lee.
Yes, hello. Good evening, a light evening. It's too bright outside to be evening, or good morning, good afternoon, whenever you might be tuning in. Oh, it is Hipster and Lip, H&L, that's what they call us. We are a potpourri of a podcast, a little of everything sprinkled in, but we try and keep our focus on sports, and there is just so much to do, we always say before the program starts, in our non-H&L voices, like 45 minutes. Yeah, I guess we'll shoot for that because we don't want to keep our audio. But that is going to not be possible because you got tournament, you got baseball, you got hockey, you got the basketballs, you got the footballs. Don't forget about the footballs. So much going on. What do you say, Mr. Hip?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, a lot has happened since our last show, which was 10 days or so ago. Where really the main topic was the New York Islanders. But, since then, look, we have March Madness is underway tonight, actually, with the playing games. And quite a bit happened in the NFL free agency for our lovely local New York football sports team. So we'll get to that. And baseball starts tomorrow. So, believe it or not, the Major League Baseball season does start tomorrow.
At what, like 3 o'clock in the mornings?
We will get there. And so let's just dive right into it, man.
Well,
come on.
Well, we do, but I think we have to at least address the move that sent shockwaves throughout not just the NFL, but here in New York was the big wide receiver New York Giants news. And that, of course, is Cody Latimer. That's right. Cody Latimer will return to the New York Giants next year. That's right.
Breaking.
Well, we will get to all that, but I just have to say one thing before we get to the tournament. We'll do that first. So many storylines. Scandal. We have to get that into. I'm just going to throw 4 names at you. Kristaps Porzingis, John Tavares, Matt Harvey, Odell Beckham. 2015, every single one of those players was here. 2015, 4 of the biggest stars in all of New York. We are now in 2019. All 4 have departed. So,
and they are gone.
Amazing. Oh, but that selection show Sunday, yes. So we will be
getting started. Of course.
Yes. Well, how much of that selection show Sunday did you watch after we were ripped on it?
What I liked about the selection show are the feeds of the teams and their reactions when their names are announced, and like the teams that are higher seeds or like better seeds, they'll do like a gentle clap. They'll stay seated in their chairs, and then the teams on the bubble, that's like their moment of winning the championship right there. That's like the biggest exciting moment that the team is being announced that they made it as a bubble team. So St. John's and the Belmonts of the world, congratulations that you had your euphoric moment when you were announced as making the tournament.
Yeah, well, for St. John's, considering what were they, like 11 and 12 and 0, whatever they were, they didn't get in a tournament. A playing game's not the tournament. I know they call it the first 4, like it's part of the whole tournament because it's now 68.
Actually,
nonsense.
No, it's really the first 8 now. Well, there's 8 teams that play for 4 spots now. They have 4 playing games now.
Right. Well. Fine, but exactly, and that's my point. Is that you have the 6 team playing games. Which team gets the right to get blown to smithereens by Duke and what does Gonzaga get the other one? So I mean, yes, I know what happened last year. Poor UVA. At least UMBC is not going to be staring them down this year. What is it? Prairie Web, Prairie School Web. I don't even know something Web, Spud Web.
Gardner Webb, of course.
Gardner Webb, Brett Gardner Webb, yes. So I understand that we saw it last year. We'll probably be dead by the time it happens again. But I mean, St. John's did not make the tournament. If they beat Arizona State tomorrow, then they will have made the tournament. And at least then, you can say, well, they kind of earned it at least because even though they had a miserable last month of the season, you beat a decent Arizona State team that's led by former Buffalo coach Bobby Hurley. That's right, former Buffalo coach. And guess who the winner of that game will play? Oh, the Buffalo Bulls at 6-11. And the Hip and I did a little auction yesterday, choosing teams, and I think the Hip and I switched teams here. Did we not?
That whole bottom left of the bracket is our focus, I guess, our personal focus. The bottom. It's not quadrant, I guess. Version.
The west region. Yes. Well, it is the bottom. It is the bottom quadrant, bottom left quadrant. That's right. The west region.
Well, yeah, but quadrant refers to 4. I'm really focusing on 1, 2. I'm not even focusing on the entire west. I'm focusing on the bottom half of the west. So the Buffalo, St. John's. You have Texas Tech in there, Nevada, Florida, Northern Kentucky, Michigan, and Montana. Yeah, I mean that's that as the dedicated podcast listeners know, heavy focus on Buffalo, St. John's, and Michigan throughout the year. So we'll see if any of those teams make it even to the Sweet 16, even though they constitute 3 of the 8 teams there. We'll see, hopefully. But let's just talk about a little bit about this auction that we did last night, because I think it's anybody that gets into March Madness, if they have the opportunity to at least try it, they should.
Oh, absolutely. So, that was cool. I will say, first time for me. I'm assuming first time for you as well.
Yeah. So I've historically just done the fill out the bracket, enter into a large pool. You gotta find the final team that not everybody else is going to pick. Duke. and try to you got to zag a little bit. And if that team doesn't win, then you're pretty much unless you get like one of those like 7-8s in the finals and you have 1 or 2 of the final 4s that not everybody else picked. Okay, fine, but otherwise, it's a long shot. And so what we did was there's a lot of different ways that this can be done, but it's apparently called I'm going to butcher the word, but it's Calcutta.
That's right. Yeah, was it Calcutta?
No,
yeah.
Calcutta?
Oh, Calcutta. Oh, that's right, Calcutta.
No, I don't know. I don't know if that's right. Calcutta, Calcutta. So here's the way it works. Let's say you get 8 people, and each team gets a budget. We had $200 of fake money, and basically each team gets auctioned off. And they're nominated in no particular order. Each person participating, you just take turns nominating teams. They get auctioned off, and then you have your whatever number of teams you end up purchasing. Let's say on average, if it's 8 participants, on average everybody's going to there'll be 8 teams per participant, and then you accumulate points based on how far your teams go in the tournament. But there's the added element of bonus for upset picks, and there's and with a big multiplier. So you get a multiplier of 3 times the difference in the seeds for the upset. So if, for example, you like I did picked Montana,
Michigan.
I picked Montana and I have them, and they beat Michigan. The seed difference is 13. And then you get a multiplier of 3, I think it is. So I would get 39 points for that upset. Now, of course, that's very unlikely, but it rewards getting upset. So I don't have a single team that's better than a 4 seed. I have 1, 4, 1, 5, and 1, 6. Now, there's different ways of construction, and depending on how many upsets there are, and if you catch them, then you might win. So it really favors the early, middle round, the first and second round upsets. We're in a bracket where you really have to do kind of chalky stuff to unless you're crazy, you really want to deviate. But in a bigger pool, you kind of have to do fairly chalky picks. You can't pick too many of those up because they don't yield you much benefit. If you pick Montana beating Michigan the first round, great. But if you're not picking them to go 2 or 3 rounds, then really you're getting 1 round correct with no added value of guessing the upset there.
Yeah, but if you combine that with I'm glad you actually explained it, because I had no idea what the hell I was doing or how this worked. But if you combine that with the big team that can make a run like Duke, let's say you get Montana and then Duke wins the whole thing, I would say you're set up pretty good there. And then you get a few other points here and there. I mean, the 8-9 is the one I was avoiding. I immediately said, why would I ever choose an 8-9? Because they're going to go on to play most likely a 1 seed in the second round. So I did not touch any of those. I had noticed.
No, I don't think it's a bad. I mean, I don't think getting 1 or 2 of those isn't bad, because I feel like every tournament or two there is usually an 8 or 9 that knocks off a 1. It
can, but your odds are not that good. I'd rather go somewhere else. You get a 12 seed that pulls off an upset, and then they go on to play the winner of the 4-13 game. If it's the 4, okay, they figure they have a decent chance of beating the 4, as opposed to an 8-9 that can beat a 1. I mean, North Carolina, Duke, and Virginia, as long as they survive their first round games, I'd be shocked if either one of those 3 teams loses in the second round.
I would not be at this year.
Duke's.
I would not be shocked.
Duke has a path to the Final Four where the NCAA said, "Please, Zion, we want Zion to go as far as possible. Get him into the Final Four at least." And then, of course, they're going to hope for the first ever Duke UNC.
I don't know, like Duke. They don't really. They're not a shooting team, though. Like, so they're just going to will their way to beating you.
Exactly, because they're so damn talented. That's why.
But I don't know. Like, I get it, but I don't know. I never feel comfortable going with a team that really can't shoot. I get it, but
you're right, and it could come back to bite them. You're absolutely right, but they are just so physically talented. They're actually one of the worst they're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the nation. I think they came in. I read it like 339th or something like that in the nation. I mean, that's how bad they're a terrible shooting team. You're absolutely right. They don't shoot free throws well, but they're a dominant rebounding team. They block shots. They rebound. They obviously have 3 potential top 10 picks in the draft. Obviously Zion, everybody knows, Barrett, who can do everything, and that guy Reddish, the guard.
Right? This is why they're going to be the team that most people, the highest pick team to win it all. I am not picking them to win it all for that specific reason. I understand the reasons why, but here's the thing. If you're doing a bracket with at least 15 entries and you pick Duke, there's going to be 4 other people, or 5, maybe more, that pick Duke. So not only do you have to get Duke correct, which may not happen, then you have to get at least 1 or 2 of the other Final Four, or you probably have to get their opponent as well correct, just to have a shot at winning the pool.
Yeah, well, you got to do well early. If you're gonna go with Duke, then you have to do really well early, and then you have to hit on probably another Final Four team, or maybe you're right.
You have to hit on so many of those things, whereas.
Yeah, I didn't say Duke is a lock to to win the whole thing. I can't even say they're a lock to get the Final Four.
But I just feel like you have to hit many more things compared to if you pick a Purdue to win it all, a 3 seed, or even Michigan State. I don't even know how many people are picking them because they're in the same bracket as Duke. If you pick Michigan State, very few people are going to pick Michigan State. If they win the whole thing, how many more things do you need to hit? Like you do if you pick Duke.
Well, you're right. But I think people that want to take adopt your tactic, your strategy, and go against Duke, then the obvious choice is to take Michigan State. I mean, you have LSU. That's a mess. We'll get back to LSU, I promise, because we talked about, and the story broke literally the day of our last podcast by Yahoo Sports about their coach, on the FBI wiretap, conspiring with that guy, Christian Dawkins, to pay off a recruit to bring him there. And so we will get back to that, I promise. We have a few more things about that. But LSU right now, I mean, actually, the trendy upset pick in that bracket is Yale. So, to beat LSU because they're a disaster without their coach. And, I don't know how that team's going to respond to everything that's going on over there.
I'm not talking about just picking that team that comes out of that I don't even call it divisions.
The region.
The region. Jesus.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just talking about the championship teams themselves. Like, I just feel like if you go with, I don't know, I'm saying this again, but if you go with Duke, then you have to get their opponent correct. You have to get the other team that's making the championship in all likelihood correct, unless it's like a real, low seed, like a 12 or something. But you have to hit that too, and you may have to hit at least 3 of the 4 Final Four if most of the better seeded teams advance. So many things, you have to get so many more things right compared to if you pick a Houston to win it all. How many people are going to pick Houston? I don't know. And I realize the odds of them winning it all is not as great, but I just feel like this. And I guess the question is, when you compare the relative likelihood of Duke versus Houston, how much does the probability of you winning come down on Duke because you need to get so many other things correct versus just Houston winning? And that I don't know, and that differs based on the different teams that you choose. But anyway, that's my philosophy of why I just never pick the chalky team, because I just feel like you have to hit on so many other things, and you may have the right team and you still may not win. Anyway,
look, again, Duke is going to be, obviously everybody knows Duke. Everybody knows Zion. If there's one player that everybody knows, it's Zion. Everybody knows the coaches. Usually the players, you go, oh, well, who's good? I don't know. I know the teams. I don't know the players, but everybody knows the name. He's already Zion. It's not even, Zion Williamson. It's already Zion. Are you a Zionist? Are you a Zionist? Yes. And there are just so many, like what, the buzz that he has brought to this tournament and the potential that he could dominate this tournament, kind of similar to the way we saw like a Carmelo back with Syracuse in 2003 dominate that tournament. I mean, I could very easily see that happening with him. He's just such a physically just
they're the number one overall seed. I mean, I get it. He is,
and he's just going. And he's been.
We'll talk in the months to come on, draft day value and NBA value and all that good stuff. But for now, let's just enjoy his pure athleticism and dominance. Let's take it for what it is for this upcoming tournament. Should be exciting to see if anybody could stop him.
That nobody can. If they're going to lose, it's because, like you said, they can't shoot. They can't. This is not a fundamental Duke team. We have so much physical talent. We're going to overpower you. We're going to out-rebound you. We're going to block shots, and we're just going to beat you up inside and just physically overpower their opponents. That's what this Duke team is. That's not what you think of a Duke. You think of J.J. Redick, of Grayson Allen, players like that can shoot from the outside. They don't have that guy.
No. But what was his first or second game back from his knee injury? He shot 13 for 13 or something. And
everything's right. It's around the rim. Look,
insane.
He doesn't really have much of a, of any kind of a perimeter game. I mean, he'll shoot an outside shot every now and again if he's wide open, but everything is around the basket because nobody can stop him. He wills himself inside. You're not stopping him. He's 6'7", 280 pounds, 80, whatever he's listed at. I mean, he's just
fast. He's fast. His wingspan is ridiculous.
He combines that physical brute force with that athleticism,
and he has a great IQ for what to do with the basketball. He makes some really good passes. So
he's got really good hands. He can finish inside. As good as anybody in the sport. I mean, again, we'll see.
He's got really good hands, and he can finish inside. Oh, where we could go with that one. But
get those hands out. Finish.
So I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna meet up in the city. I think you are. I don't know actually, because I said somebody was trying to pry you out to Long Island, so we'll see how that works out. But I will be watching in the city. Okay, let's put it that way. Looking forward to it. Friday. You got UVA at 3, I think, and Buffalo at 4. Michigan's on Thursday night. So anyway, you want to talk a little bit about this LSU storyline? Let's hear it. Let's get through it again.
I'm assuming that you want that to conclude our NCAA segment before we move on.
Yes, I think so. I mean,
all right. Well, hold on. But before we do that, then I want a full scouting report of the Hip's beloved Michigan Wolverines that he's picked against with Montana and picking the Buffalo Bulls in the auction.
My full brackets, I mean, for anybody listening, so be it. I guess I'm giving away a little bit of competitive advantage. If you're in the same pool as me, whatever, I don't care. I'm picking them to win it all. Doesn't mean I feel that confident that they'll get
the Buffalo Bulls? You're picking the Buffalo Bulls to win it all?
Yeah, exactly.
Or was it Montana? Wait, you had Montana not only beating Michigan in the first round, but advancing all the way and knocking off like UVA in the final.
Yeah, sure. Michigan definitely has the talent to do it. I mean, they should have beaten Michigan State on Sunday, but they just completely collapsed in the last 3 minutes. They played really well in that game. They lost to Michigan State all 3 times this year. Michigan, I mean, Cassius Winston is was, Big Ten Player of the Year, and he just willed himself to the basket and finished. They don't have a player like that. They don't. I mean, Brazdakis, the forward freshman, could be that guy, but he's still a little. He's not quite big enough for the position. I feel like he's just a little undersized, and he can't really will his way into the paint. He tries, but he's better of a shooter and off the dribble, but he can't quite finish. He's okay at finishing inside, but he can't be that dominant force inside. And they have some role players who can step up, but nobody that they can go to. I mean, their point guard is great, Xavier Simpson. He's a fun player to watch. He has this fun hook shot he likes to take. He's countless times. Look out for Xavier Simpson's hook shot. A point guard with a hook shot. Who obviously.
Yes, of course. I mean, that's what you. Well, yeah, Magic Johnson. Come on, Magic Johnson. Although I guess
sometimes
a
they get
little different.
Three-pointer happy, and it's intoxicating because when it's on, it's amazing and it's fun and you can't stop them. But teams have shooting cold streaks. I mean, it happens, and so they have to do a better job of recognizing when that's happening and going back to more old school style and setting up plays inside. But they don't necessarily. They take the bad three here and there, and they're talented.
Does that,
there's a handful of other teams that are better than them, and but it's not going to stop me from making that pick. How about you?
Yes. Well, what about me? My scouting report of Michigan?
No. Yeah. Exactly.
You mean it's
in the pool that we're doing together? Who are you choosing to win it all?
Well, I mean, I can't, I'm not going to go with Duke, even though, I think Duke is probably going to end up on top in the end. I just do. I just get the feeling. I mean, look, we can go with UVA. Could this be the year of redemption for UVA? I mean, last year was supposed to be their year. And then when it wasn't their year, naturally, this is going to be their year because they, what happens? You lose in the first round to the 16th seed, first team up. This has to be the year they come back. And look, I mean, everything you hear about that team is they're not only as good as last year, they might actually be better because they're better offensively. They're still one of the top defensive teams, on the Ken Webb or whatever it is, adjusted efficiency rankings. They're up there, like top 5 in every category, even offense. And, in years past, it was, great defensively, but offense can be a little inconsistent. Good offensively. DeAndre Hunter is an NBA prospect. I mean, that's a guy to watch, obviously, for UVA. One of our listeners can attest. I'm sure he can give us a full breakdown of them.
Poke yourself into picking UVA, or?
Fine, we'll go with UVA. How's that? I mean,
right.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we do. Well, do we want to give Final Fours? Do we want to give our individual Final Fours?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I guess we should. Yes.
I have Michigan State, Michigan. I think North Carolina and Tennessee. I think is what I'll go with.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go. I have Michigan as well. Coming out of the West, I have to take Duke. Coming out of the East, I just can't. I mean, Michigan State, you want to tell me they can give them a run for their money, maybe, but I just can't see them losing. I will have to, of course, go with UVA since I just chose them. And even though I think North Carolina could be North Carolina is also a very, very good, talented team. I am going to go with Houston. I was going to take Wofford actually at the number 7 seed, but I'll just go with Houston to round it out. Can't go with all number 1s. Don't want to take a 2 there. I already got Michigan, got my 1 with Duke and North Carolina and UVA. So there we go. Final 4 for me. Final 4 for the hip. And I'll just give a little breakdown of Buffalo, as Buffalo tied for the best record in all of college basketball. Only 3 losses on the year. I think 31 wins.
31-3.
31-3, indeed. So
still get a 6 seed.
I know. Well, Nate, and actually their coach was already, the night of the selection Sunday, came out and was like, yeah, I'm pissed off with our seating. He thought they should have been a 4. He's probably right. I mean, they were ranked in the top 25 pretty much all season long, at least a 5, whatever. They get the playing game. He's not happy about, also not happy about playing his, the guy that hired him as an assistant coach a few years ago, and Bobby Hurley, former Duke, that's right, that Bobby Hurley, former Duke hero Bobby Hurley back in the early 90s, those Christian Laettner, Krzyzewski Duke teams. So we'll see obviously the winner of that game. If it's St. John's, I think Buffalo handles them very easily. I know St. John's is talented, but Buffalo, they're just such a sound team. Arizona State, they have some talent. They could give Buffalo a little bit of a run for their money, so that would worry me, as it already does their head coach, who's already said, I don't want to play them. 3 players I'll give you for Buffalo, Nick Perkins, C.J. Massenberg, and Jeremy Harris. All 3, I think 2 of the 3 are seniors. All 3 were on the team last year that knocked off Arizona. I can see them beating Texas Tech in the second round and then losing to Michigan in the Sweet 16. Oh, we'll have to be a big viewing party for that one. Michigan-Buffalo. Oh, my God. Intense rivalry between H and L. Of course, I'll be rooting for Michigan, you for Buffalo, since those are the teams we have in our auction little thing we're doing. But Buffalo, I think I talked about them last time, but just, again, such a sound team, deep team, well coached. They have the defensive player of the year. They have the overall MAC player of the year, MAC defensive player of the year. Perkins is a beast inside. Massenberg can do it inside and outside, shoot. Harris is a very good shooter, although this year dropped a little bit with his shooting, but still a very good offensive player. Tore it up in the championship game for the MAC. So that's a team, we can see getting to the Sweet 16 and then bowing out gracefully against Michigan. If they do, that's great. If they lose in the first round or even in the Sweet 16, I know they're lower. Even in the second round, I know they're a lower seed. Failure of a season. That's what I'm saying right now. Get to Michigan, give Michigan a game, and then we can, pat ourselves on the back there. All right, moving on. We got our Final Fours in. We got our little scouting reports in on our individual schools. And now we can proceed. A little LSU. Any thoughts, Mr. Hip?
No, and I'll give you a couple minutes to talk about this topic again.
I mean, it's not
light up the fire in me or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even really a few minutes. I mean, there's again, it's amazing how this continues to hover over the tournament. Now, the CBS and the NCAA, we know, are going to go to great lengths. Even though LSU, look, as long as LSU is there, it's going to have to be talked about. Now, I'm sure they're hoping that Yale will pull the upset in the first round. But this did not happen on our last podcast. The story had just broken, and LSU did not waste any time in suspending their head coach, Will Wade. Again, the story was Christian Dawkins, the runner, wannabe agent, business manager that's hoping to, get involved in this conspiracy so he can bring business for himself and, potentially get a couple clients once they turn pro, kids that he recruits. The school's recruits, of course, facilitate the payola scandals, the pay for play, and hopefully gather a couple of those recruits for himself as he builds his little business as a agent, business manager, whatever. This was the guy that was involved in the conspiracy with multiple teams, Louisville included. Of course, that's the big one. A bunch of other schools named, but Will Wade, the LSU coach, caught on an FBI wiretap talking with Christian Dawkins about paying off a recruit, was immediately suspended and kind of swept under the rug again. It's, this happened, but we're not really going to, their coach was suspended for things. We're not going to get into it. Oh, but how about the great year for LSU? It's just amazing to me how little coverage this gets. But this thing, I think, is going to just continue to grow. I think we're going to continue to see, more things revealed. I mean, the investigation obviously is ongoing. This has been going on for a few years now. The FBI has been conducting this. I mean, this first broke again, what was it, in 2017 in the fall, I think, right? Something like that. I mean, there really isn't much to get into right now, but he was suspended, the coach, after the story broken on our, as we talked about briefly on our last podcast. Christian Dawkins actually has another court date coming up next month for separate charges. He was already convicted and got a couple of months. He was already sentenced to a couple of months in jail, I think 3 months or something. He will have another trial coming up next month. So we'll see, what continues to drip and develop with this ever-growing story. So pretty amazing stuff.
All right, and on that uplifting note, looking forward. Actually, technically, right now the tournament has started because the 16 play-in game is currently underway. So
is it?
Forward to giving breaking updates.
Yes, indeed. And actually, the one other thing I wanted to mention too, and I'm sorry, we talked about last time. I told you to put your legal fedora on. The prosecution's case against the Adidas guys and Dawkins was that to convict for fraud, to prove fraud. You need to be able to show demonstrate an actual victim of the fraud, which they used the schools as the victim. And Wade was actually subpoenaed to testify on behalf of Dawkins by Dawkins' defense team to testify on his behalf to undermine the prosecution's case that university officials were in on the scheme, therefore torpedoing their whole legal theory that the school is a victim in the fraud. So
school officials were in on schemes. I don't know when we've heard of that ever happening. Oh yeah, Fuller House.
And which I mean, tying that into it too. We haven't talked about that, but yes, Aunt Becky. Oh no, Aunt Becky paying off, and that's where the real money is. I mean, some of these coaches for Stanford, Yale. I mean, the rowing and soccer team there. I mean, they were paid like a couple $100,000. They're probably the coaches. For the big college basketball coaches are probably saying to themselves, "Hey, how come we didn't get that? We only got a little under the table, a couple of bucks shoved to us under the table to facilitate these payola schemes, even though, they're getting millions of dollars. I think it's like 70 coaches now that get paid over $1 million a year.
At the end of the day with this stuff, to the extent that the kids who got into the schools that didn't realize, I mean, I don't know how much sympathy you might have there, but those that, the people who were honest and did the right thing and just missed getting into those schools, and I'm sure they went somewhere else and they're fine, but that they didn't get afforded the opportunity to go to a school because somebody else cheated their way in. It's disheartening and you just feel bad. I mean, there's not really much more you can do about it. For the kids, it's just
same thing for the kids that are used by these, Christian Dawkins types that, they go to these AAU programs and these other camps that are funded by the Nikes and the Adidas and the Under Armour. And you have like these army of, whether it's executives for these shoe companies and other guys, again, these Dawkins types that they recruit and to facilitate, these schemes and, these under the table wink, wink. Come to this school and wink. We'll take care of you. Don't worry. I mean, this goes all the way back to Sam Gilbert and UCLA and John Wooden looking the other way while Sam Gilbert was assisting with the recruiting process and getting a young Lou Alcindor back in the late 60s to go cross country from Washington Heights or wherever he grew up to all the way out to UCLA. This is just it's been an undercurrent of college basketball forever, and it's something that we've known about forever. People just have not cared. They've looked the other way, or they just go, whatever. It's exciting. I look forward to tournament time because I got my bracket and I'm watching the games in the first round and taking half day.
Admittedly, that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, we all do it. Oh no, we all. I'm guilty, just as guilty too. Absolutely. In fact, I can't wait for John Morant versus Marcus Howard. I forgot to mention that game. Murray State Marquette. The John Morant, who might be a top 3 pick in the draft, maybe in the future New York Knicks. Hello, against Marquette, which should be a fantastic game. At least they might score like a combined 250 points in that game. So this is again. It's going to continue to grow. It's hovering over, over the tournament, but most people.
I'll give you a couple minutes, and I'm taking like 6. So let's.
That's good segue. Moving on. All right.
Yeah, segue to so. I guess we have to get to this now. We can't. It was huge news last week, and it still is spilling into this week with now Odell Beckham like deleting his Instagram account and needing to decompress or whatever. So now Odell Beckham is a Cleveland Brown, and I think a lot of people were caught off guard by this, maybe coming to terms with it, because they have to. I think there are people that are not surprised at the same time. But if you look at like everything the Giants have done in the last 2 years, you are, at least I am a bit left scratching my head. It's like, how do you sign a guy to that contract and then how much later, a year later, you trade him? It's what
1 year later.
And draft a top running back in the interim. Rookie running back, which is arguably a top 5 running back in the league. And I saw some film. Somebody tweeted out of Eli Manning's play in 2018, and there were some plays where Odell Beckham is wide open down the field, and Eli never even looks his way. Like he looks at the underneath. receiver crossing route and then dumps it to the running back. Where meanwhile, Odell Beckham is wide open down the field on his post or whatever he runs. And it's like it's convenient to put the blame on the flashy guy who, has his antics, and we've talked about them, you especially, how many times. It's convenient to say, all right, well, we're getting rid of the guy that, at least from our perspective, from the outside, seeing the behavior from the outside, well, that must be the problem. Is that a fair assessment of how you judge this decision? And if not, what is? That is my question to you.
I mean, the bottom line is Beckham has been here since 2014. That was his rookie season. Here's the big picture. We'll start with the big picture first. Now look, they're going to have $33 million in dead cap space next season, the Giants. That's 16 from Beckham and 33 overall coming from other players that Gettleman has now jettisoned. Gettleman was hired back in December of 2017. It's it's not even a year and a half yet. He has purged so many of the big veteran, high draft pick, big personality players that were all part of the previous regime. When you look at Harrison, you look at Vernon, you look at Collins, Apple, Flowers, now Beckham, all gone. Their biggest personalities, most talented, highest paid, high draft picks, first round picks in there, all kind. I mean, it's unbelievable how many players have been purged from the prior regime. And now you don't know if that's by design. You don't know if that just kind of, look, it was time to get rid of Flowers. Flowers stunk. It was time to get rid of him. I agree. Vernon couldn't stay on the field. Harrison, he's debatable. He's making a lot of money. You wanted to free that up, whatever. Collins, again, I railed about that last episode, and I still believe they made the wrong decision, even though they got former Michigan Wolverine, Jabril Peppers, in the trade. And what's funny is that Peppers is looked at as a guy like Collins, his strengths around the line of scrimmage, maybe not that great in coverage. We'll see if he can improve there. And, you heard about Betcher's defense, and Collins didn't fit it. Peppers will. Okay, I won't question that now. We'll see. But here's the thing. And you mentioned Eli, and we'll get to Beckham. Here's the thing with Eli, though, now. If the Giants are keeping Eli, and you heard Gettleman at the end of the season say, we're going to have a serious and frank discussion with him. We'll have to decide. And then yesterday, during his press conference, he comes out all defiant. Oh, it's ridiculous to say that he can't play anymore. It's absurd, that he's done, that he's washed up. He's still our quarterback. He's going to be our quarterback. And first of all, I didn't realize how strong, thick of a Boston accent he has. How the care in the ad. You've heard him talk before, but it's amazing how thick that Boston accent, New England accent is. I heard him on the Francesa show yesterday, whatever it is now. But he basically said yesterday during the interview, we are hoping to get a young quarterback, but right now, Eli Manning will most likely be our starting quarterback, without actually saying that, but that's how I interpreted that. But if he is, that means you are trying to win now. Now, I am not in disagreement with him that you can build a team and compete. You never throw away a season in the NFL. It's not like other leagues. It's not like the NBA or the NHL where you're tearing it down and, a Gart Snow like, oh, I'll tell you when we're ready to win. It won't be for a few years. That way I can keep my job and sell the team and, the owner and the fans a bill of goods about how I'm building something, even though I'm just lying through my teeth and because I have no idea what I'm doing. So I agree with Gettleman there. But if you're going to keep Manning and you're planning on drafting a quarterback, you can never count on drafting a quarterback in the 5th round that might be, your quarterback of the future. That's going to be your quarterback of the future. You take a flyer on those guys, which I never understand anyway. If you think a guy is so good, why would he be a 5th or 6th round pick? But if there's a guy you love in the 1st round, a Haskins, somebody else, okay, fine. But why are you going to then draft that guy and then put him behind Eli when you're trying to win at the same time, when you could be using that pick for a guy that can step in and start now, especially on defense? Their defense has 17,000 holes in it. They have a couple good young players. They got Peppers. They have they have a couple guys that were rookies last year, Hill, Carter, fine, but they still have so many holes. So why would you spend one of your premium picks on a quarterback if you're going to keep Manning here. Just get rid of him then already. Look, the Beckham trade, I was shocked. I really was shocked. You heard the rumors forever now, at least going back to last year before they signed him. Like you said, why did you sign him to the contract? Oh, we didn't sign him to trade him. We didn't give him that contract to trade him. Oh, and they blew me away. They just blew me away. I could not refuse that trade. Really? You couldn't turn down the 17th overall pick and Jabril Peppers for Beckham, who is, this amazing talent. Now, if you want to say we don't need we don't need a all pro, even though he never was first team all pro, but we don't need that kind of wide receiver to win. We can win with good receivers like Golden Tate, a former hip favorite, not on his team last year, so we'll have to get to that. But if that's the case, and that's fine. You can quibble about the compensation. You got a first round, a third round premium picks, plus Peppers, who you hope can turn into a very good safety in this league for years to come, and then a little bit of cap room that you freed up for this year. If you're putting that towards a player, fine. But the question is now, if you're getting rid of Beckham, but you're keeping Manning, what does that mean for this season and for the future? And it's something that I still think is very much up in the air and unanswered. And I will miss Beckham. He was I railed against his antics because I think they at times were destructive. It was always, he was a very selfish, self-aggrandizing player at times. Made it about him too often, more often than not, and that should have been nipped in the bud right away. During the Coughlin years, it wasn't. It escalated, it festered, and you saw what happened. I remember the Paris video last year, which just drove me insane because it was like the ultimate W gas, who cares? And even the owner had to chime in on that. That crap I didn't care about. It was just getting him to buy into being a part of the team and contributing to the team's success and not making it about him. I don't think he'll ever be that guy. And that's a fair criticism. I think that's still the case today. And Cleveland will come to learn that about him. So,
only if they're winning, I don't think they'll come to learn it when they might.
Well, I know everybody now. Oh, I got a super secret trendy pick for the Super Bowl in the AFC, the Cleveland Browns. Oh, I thought the same thing. Me too. Oh, damn it. I thought I had one there. I hope Vegas puts the over under at like 11 and still gets all these idiots to take the over. I really hope they do that. They'll clean up because everybody now thinks that Cleveland, just pencil them in for the AFC representative in the Super Bowl. Okay, fine. You're right. Yep, Baker Mayfield, I know, and Jarvis Landry, and now Beckham, and Spud CJ Chubb. What's his name again? What's the running back's name? I forgot. I'm thinking of Spud Webb because of
Nick Chubb.
No, Nick Chubb. There you go. I mean, yeah, they have talent. They should be fun to watch. I'm not ready to anoint them AFC.
I'm not ready to anoint them.
Because I think the New York Jets might have something to say about it. It's amazing though how the Jets are flying under the radar and looked at as the competent team now, even though the Jets haven't exactly blown anybody away with their offense.
The bar's been set pretty low these days in New York sports in general, I think. So,
the four names that I said, all four superstar. I mean, I know Tavares Islanders fine, but the other three, I mean, it looked like they were going to own the city. Harvey, Porzingis, Beckham, three larger-than-life personalities. All gone. And what's left? Well, we have Matt Barzal left. And we have Dennis Smith Jr. left. And we have Golden Tate, everybody. Golden Tate, a hip favorite for like 7 years in a row, had him on his fantasy team. Well, maybe like it was only 4, except for last year. Is now a New York Giant. Replacing
PPR gold.
What happened?
PPR gold.
Indeed. So, the Giants, who knows how they're going to look next year. Gettleman said probably we'll have a guy on the roster that we hope will be the quarterback of the future. Where, how, when they get him, who knows? We'll have to get to that when it does, and we can address it then. And the Giants are going to have, I think, like 4 picks in the top 100 or something like that. They have 12 picks overall, so they, should fill some holes. And, again, I will miss Beckham. It was a lot of fun watching him. I mean, he was just exciting just an electrifying player. Watching him, at time, take a 12-yard slant pass and turn it into a 70-yard touchdown. There's basically nobody in the league that can do that. Very few. And Beckham, if he still can, I mean, I thought he maybe slowed down a little bit last year. Actually, I'll be honest. I know you mentioned Manning, looking the other way. Why? Who knows? Last year, because I mean, he didn't have a great year. I mean, he played 12 games. I mean, well, he had a very, very good statistical season, but it wasn't
1,000 yards.
Yeah, I mean, but it wasn't like we had seen him. I mean, especially in 2016, we had seen him dominate and take over games. That's how good he was. I didn't think he had that kind of impact last year. Missed the last 4, and then you heard how the Giants scored all these points, except for the game where they were shut out. Oh, that doesn't count though, right? Without Beckham in there. But I mean, this is I bid farewell to Beckham. I wish him all the luck. I will be rooting for him. I have nothing, to John Tavares. I stated my thoughts and opinions on John Tavares, and I hope that SOB never lays his hands on a Stanley Cup ever, ever, ever. Beckham, I bid you adieu. I wish you the best. Go out and just be careful out there in Cleveland in the dog.
in case you're listening, even though you've deleted all social media.
Yeah. Oh, did he? Was that all right? Oh, that's right. I did see some headline. He went dark or something. Oh no, he's dark. We don't know what he's thinking right now. I will say he I don't think he wanted to go to Cleveland at all. I think he was obviously shocked about being traded, but if he would have woken up to learn that he was in LA, he would have been like, "Oh, all right, okay, well, let's do this." But I think in Cleveland, he's like, "Hey, yeah, Cleveland. What the hell is Cleveland? What the hell am I going to do there? The city goes to sleep at 8:00 at night. What am I going to do? Who's going to be paying attention to me when I'm saying, hey, look, it's me?" So
I would think the same thing.
Yeah, we can get back to the Giants, though. It's still the offseason. We still have another 1,834 mock drafts coming at us over the next, month until the draft. So a month and a half, right?
I don't want to see more than 5 seconds.
All right, Jets, though. I will let Le'Veon Bell, another superstar, is here. Former, whatever he is now, is here. Mr. Hip, how excited are you?
Look, one player is not going to turn around a franchise, especially if it's not a quarterback. But you're starting to see potentially a framework here if Sam Darnold can take a step forward next year. I mean, Le'Veon Bell is as good as anybody and he had a year off, so it's going to will beg the question about his conditioning or whatever, but he's an every down back. And obviously catches passes out of the backfield as well as anyone, is incredible at, stop and go, not quite as good as Barry Sanders, but the next best version of it that we have today in the league.
But are you worried about his year off? And do you think that will help because he's rested or hurt because maybe he has, lost a step at a little bit of a older age, Le'Veon Bell?
I mean, I think you'd rather have a guy that didn't get tackled 200 times in the previous year.
Yeah, you could. It's glass half full.
0 times.
Suspending hipster doctrine, raising expectations. All right.
Is he going to be at the same level he was 2 years ago? Maybe not, but I feel like he would be at a worse level this year if he played a full season last year compared to sitting a year out. He's the same year older than he would have been last year if he did play. And I don't think he'd be better this year if he did play last year because of the wear and tear.
Yeah, but look, he was a good pickup, and they didn't break the bank for him. He didn't get. I mean, look, he screwed himself over by not just playing last year. Making his, would have been 15, 6, whatever it would have been on the franchise.
Assuming that he wouldn't have gotten significantly hurt, but yes,
right, and obviously that was why he wanted the contract, or he didn't want to risk getting hurt before his free agent year. Right? Look, it was a calculated risk. It didn't work, at least in the sense that he didn't get hurt, but it didn't work in the sense that he didn't get his giant contract that he was hoping for.
I'm sure he's gonna, he's still more than pleased he got what he got, and he's now set for life, assuming he's, reasonable with his lifestyle. And Jets fans have reasons to be cautiously optimistic, but Jets fans have just been through awfulness for quite a while now. That I don't think the fan base suddenly thinks that this is a team ready to throw in the Patriots. They have some
and they desperately need a pass rush. I mean, look, there hasn't been a great free agent haul for them. I mean, Mosley is a good player, the guy they got from Baltimore. They got the offensive lineman in the trade with the Raiders, obviously Bell, but it hasn't been, they had a truckload of cap room, and they haven't exactly, broken the bank with, bringing in this guy and that guy and this guy. And I mean, they tried to get Barr, the other linebacker, which they were stood up at the altar. Oh no. By the other Baltimore linebacker but they will definitely draft a pass rusher, I'm sure, in the first round. Where are they again? 2, 3, 4, I don't know, whatever the hell they are. But I'm sure they'll be taking a pass rusher, either, Bosa if he's there, or Allen. We'll get to that, whatever. But they still have holes themselves. But I mean, right now they're looked at as the competent team on the way up. They have the quarterback. They are putting pieces around the quarterback. They have a new coach, and right now they're looked at as the team with the going in the right direction with the right plan. Where the Giants are in disarray. I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, here's the difference. It's a quarterback situation. If everything were equivalent for the Giants, except they have a quarterback like the Jets do, it would be a totally different narrative. I think it's that simple. It's your quarterback.
Yes, fine, but yes, and you're right. And it always comes back to the quarterback. Are you stable at the quarterback position? Because then you can always figure out this piece and that guy and this piece. So you're right. And but the Jets are kind of flying under the radar, and they're doing their thing while the Giants getting all the headlines and attention, which they have just because of Beckham's presence here. And now that he's gone, after the smoke clears, we'll see how the teams look next year. Plenty of time, so much time, but until then, New York sports fans, the Buffalo Sabres. I'm sorry, they stink. The New York Islanders, yes, Mr. Hip. I just segued myself instead of waiting for you to do it.
All right, so let's just touch upon them very briefly. I mean, they're in the thick of this playoff race. They have 10 games left.
10 games to go, yep.
Well, the 10th game is just underway right now, literally.
At NYCB Live presents some building.
They're tied for first with the Capitals. The same number of games, 91 points. And as I think you pointed out, they're only 10 points ahead of the last place. Is that right? Or is it 7?
No, it's 7. The last playoff spot. Yeah. So the Canadians right now are out.
Yeah. So they'd have to really falter here.
They would have to. Yeah, they would have to
point advantage with 10 games to go. That would be a complete
collapse.
Disaster. The fact that we're thinking of it in that context,
have to.
How we're not getting excited for the Islanders playoff run.
Hipster doctrine. Hipster.
Yeah,
doctrine.
I mean that tells you all about because this team just hasn't been. They've been up and down. They haven't been scoring as much, eking out wins. When was the last time they had like a dominant, three goal advantage win?
Well, they dominated against the Red Wings. I mean, the Red Wings are awful. I mean, the Red Wings are one of the worst teams, but they dominated the Red Wings on Saturday afternoon. They just, like you said, they couldn't score. The Islanders, here's the thing right now, the Islanders. I'll just simplify it to this. They have a first line that Trotz just put together a couple of games ago with Barzal, Lee, and Eberle flanking him on his left and his right, respectively. Now, Eberle has had a very underwhelming season, but he is just clicks with Barzal. So I don't think you're going to see those two separate, unless injury or Eberle just puts his head up his ass again, whatever. You're going to see that trio probably through the end of the season and into the playoffs. The fourth line. Once everybody's healthy, Cizikas has been, in and out. I mean, it's kind of like mystery ailments with him, of course. You don't have to disclose anything. All you have to say is, the person has a body part and it has a boo-boo. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do in the NHL. So, but once those two lines are healthy and going, the question is, what's going to be of the middle six? Right now, it is a jumble. It is a mishmash. It is trying out different things. This guy. There is no cohesion with the middle six right now. Barry Trotz has to figure something out that works. Now, it's okay to jumble lines if guys are not performing, but you cannot this guy in. This lad has been terrible since he's come back. He's in. Del Cole comes up. He plays a couple games. He comes out for lad. In goes Kunackle, who stinks. I have no idea why he's even ever going to touch an ice surface again for this team. But he's in. Uncle Leo can't score, but he's not going to come out of the lineup ever. Beauvillier has struggled and, hasn't really exactly picked up his play, but he hasn't been sat down yet. So it looks like he's a fixture. Bailey. I mean, you right now have a mishmash of guys in the middle six that Barry Trotz needs to figure out some kind of cohesion, and he needs to make a decision on Andrew Ladd. If Andrew Ladd cannot get the job done, I don't want to hear about veteran presence and leadership. I mean, right now, Andrew Ladd is the walking dead on ice skates. That's what Andrew Ladd is. He is contributing nothing right now. He has been awful. It is time to either, again, you tell him it's time to produce, or you're not going to play in the playoffs. We're going to sit you down, and we're just going to move on without you, and that's it. Now, like I've said, I think Joshua Ho-Sang should be up here. I'm going to criticize Barry Trotz, who is not beyond reproach or criticism, and Lou Lamoriello for keeping him buried down there. It is absurd. I know that there is an anti-Joshua Ho-Sang brigade out there. You know what? Go screw yourselves, everybody. That exactly. I mean, I would use hard.
You're offending a lot of folks.
Yes, I would. It's unbelievable. You talk about Beckham being polarizing, and the response, people, oh, I can't believe we got rid of Beckham. Oh, good riddance. His personality, and I mean, Joshua Ho-Sang is probably more polarizing, and I still can't grasp why the other end of the spectrum. I am on the complete pro Joshua Ho-Sang side of the spectrum, saying that he should 1,000,000,000% be up here, and the GM and coach are wrong for having him buried down there when they are in desperate need of offense. Their 12 best forwards, like I said, includes Dal Coll and Ho-Sang in the lineup. You pair Filppula with Dal Coll and Ho-Sang. You pair Nelson with Bailey and Beauvillier, and you roll. And now you roll 4 lines. If everybody's performing up to their, to their capabilities, you can roll 4 lines with that, with your 4th line and your 1st line. You got your 6 defensemen. We'll see Hickey, Boychuk. We'll see how that plays out. You need to figure out the goalie situation. Grice has been riding it now that after Leonard got hurt. But until then, and it doesn't look like Ho-Sang's going to be coming up, so I know it's a pipe dream right now, but they have to figure that situation out. 10 games, tied for first. A game against the Capitals, which I think concludes the season, if I'm not mistaken. Relatively tough schedule. They play Columbus again, Montreal, so they have a few tough games in there. Games that they're gonna, if they want to solidify their spot, that we'll have to win. And then we'll get into the playoffs, and we'll see, Mr. Hip. Get excited.
Yeah, I'm more excited about baseball starting tomorrow.
Well, what time again? 2:30 in the morning. 3.
Well, set your alarm clocks, folks. Tomorrow morning, as in March 20th, 5:35 a.m. Eastern time. The 2019 baseball season kicks off in Japan with the Seattle Mariners squaring up against the Oakland Athletics, with Ichiro Suzuki scheduled to be in the lineup, playing in the outfield at the ripe young age of 45 years old.
Is he 45 now? Wow.
I mean, that's what I keep saying.
You said that this was like a send-off for him, though, right? He's going to play.
I mean, nothing has been confirmed, but I think that's the general.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, you put him in the outfield in Japan, where he started, his career and played. Yeah, half his career he played there. I mean, it's unbelievable. He's been here since 2000. Well, like now it's not half his, but he played like 7 or 8 years in Japan. It's not like he came here when he was 20. I mean, it's unbelievable.
He is 45 years old. He has over 3,000 career hits as a major leaguer in America, and he had 1,278 hits in Japan prior. Incredible career. So yes, and for those of you on the West Coast, set your alarm clock for 2:35 a.m. Eastern to watch it from 2:30 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. Can't wait to see the ratings on that. With the West Coast, at least with the East Coast, you just wake up a little early. You're normally waking up. You're gonna sit at home, have your morning coffee, and watch.
And the hip will be having a viewing party for those that for like the other like 9 people like in unknown parts of metropolitan New York City that want to join him to watch the Mariners. And who are they playing? I forgot what you said.
The Athletics. Well,
Athletics.
I'm focused on a resurgent year from Domingo Santana, who should be a regular outfielder for Seattle. 2 seasons ago, he went 30-15 for Milwaukee. And then last year, last year, well, he's been climbing the draft boards in the last few weeks because he's had a great spring. So let's see, Domingo Santana. Now, he does strike out a lot, so don't, his first at-bat strikeout. Oh, God, what is that talking about? And also Mitch Haniger, a guy that does a little bit of everything well, but nothing really well, so he goes a little under the radar. You know, and Hunter Strickland apparently is the closer for the Mariners. So this is just
I want to give you one, actually. Now, you mentioned the Twins, because I was railing against the American League last show about how there's 4 good teams, everybody else is awful, and I said the Central, that it's the Indians and everybody else is either bad, terrible, or bad news Bears quality. And you said no, hold on, the Minnesota Twins. Is that what you said, right? You said the Twins could be. So I'm going to give you a name then. Byron Buxton. I remember he was the super duper ultra prospect that kind of then sucked for a little while, but now apparently he's back with a vengeance. Is that correct?
25 years old now, and one of those high ceiling, power speed outfielders, 30-30 potential, dripping with upside.
Dripping. Don't slip and fall. Just don't slip and fall.
He the thing is that he has this incredibly high strikeout rate in the majors, but he didn't in the minors. But he's having an amazing spring. And will this be the year that he puts it all together? I don't know. But if he does, oh my gosh, the Twins are.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, oh my gosh.
Believe it or not. I mean, they look, I mean, the thing about Cleveland is they have an amazing starting rotation. Their lineup is decent. Assuming Lindor's okay with his calf.
They're gonna win that division by Memorial Day.
I mean, I get their rotation is amazing. Their starting pitching is just easily the best rotation in baseball. It's not even close. You can't. The Mets. I'm sorry. Jason Vargas just brings it down.
Jason Vargas.
So you just
Well, they still have Matt Harvey, right? Oh no, that's right. I forgot. Beginning of the show, I said he was gone.
One of Matt Harvey's teammates with Mr. Mike Trout. Congratulations.
Oh my, we didn't even mention that. Breaking news today. $430 million. I guess the recruiting efforts of Bryce Harper to come to Philadelphia, well, that's over with. It is just holy shits. $430 million, and this is after the players. So I mentioned last show, hearing the potential of Armageddon talk with the labor after the CBA expires after next season or whatever, and the impending labor doom. Because the owners are stifling our salaries and they're colluding, to lower our salary because there's no cap and there's no floor, and they're they're setting the prices, fixing the prices or whatever. And then you get, Machado, Harper, and Trout, a combined, was it $1.2 billion between the three of them or something? I mean, it's just
yeah, it's
unbelievable.
It's the guys at the fringes that get screwed. I mean,
I know the big guy,
the marginal, the guy, at the same time, Craig Kimbrell and Dallas Keuchel are still free agents. So Adam Jones is not a free agent anymore. So I think we talked about that on our last show.
Kimbrell still astounds me. I don't get it. I just don't get
Carlos
it.
Gonzalez has signed. Whoop-de-doo.
Carlos Gonzalez. Even I know he's safe now.
But yes, Kimbrell is the most shocking one, I think. He's clearly the best player still out there who's unsigned. He will. I mean, there's only about 12 teams in Major League Baseball that have a dedicated closer.
That's the other thing now is there's no more. Well, how about the proposed rule change, which is so laughable and so absurd? I guess did we talk about last time the 3 batter minimum? Which I mean,
there is an exception to that though.
I don't even care. It's just so.
If they end the inning, but if you end the inning, you don't have to face another batter in the next inning. So if you come into the game with,
but what's the point? I mean, we want to accelerate the game.
So damn long with all the pitching changes. The games, it gets to the point of it's unbearable with a pitching change every 3 batters. It's
true.
Horrible.
And baseball actually, right. But now baseball actually, they did something else to address that. Commercial breaks now have been cut to 2 minutes. 2 minutes only for commercials. Oh no. So what is that going to mean? It means that this pitching change has been brought to you by Farmer Dan's Franks. That throw over the first was brought to you by My Pillow. That's crotch scratch by the batter in the batter's box, even though he just stepped out and is prolonging the game by stepping out and scratching his crotch. That was brought to you by Bengay. Oh, yeah. I mean, those are the ads you're going to be hearing throughout the course of the game.
if it were ever possible for Hip and Lip to have gone off the rails, I think you've just heard it, folks.
Well, it was related to what we were talking, the slow pacing and the rule change, so I brought it back.
What were the commercials previously? How long were they? Like,
I think it was like 2:30 or something, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So they shaved off.
I think the 3 batter minimum is so, like, what's the big deal? Like, what? Like, I feel like 5 years from now, and not 5 years, just 1 year from now, after implementing that, nobody's gonna give a shit.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I just think it's so dumb. I
don't understand. Why is it such a big deal?
Because what if the guy can't throw strikes and he's just getting lit up and you can't take him out? Let's say, okay, so 3 batter minimum, right? So it's not 3 yet. So 3 batter minimum. You know, he comes in, he throws like 4 pitches like all over the place where, like, you know, maybe a manager would say, okay, this guy doesn't have it, I got to get him out now. I can't even let him have another batter.
Well,
and then you're like,
that's where the fake injuries are gonna creep up a little bit.
Okay, and then this commercial break, you know, injury music time, Fox injury music, do. I can't do it. But exactly, it's my point.
Yeah, I think I prefer the pros over the cons.
All right, agree to disagree.
Yeah, good stuff.
We'll get into more of a locals preview, I guess, next episode. Because even though the league is kicking off tomorrow, isn't there like another over a week until the next games? When's the official opening day?
The 28th. All right. Team, I believe, plays on the 28th, which is which is a Thursday this year.
And I don't think people will be so upset if we do a preview on the day after the opening day. Now it doesn't matter. It's all out the window now. The games have begun.
It doesn't matter. How about the hipster? How about the hipster moment of Zenith?
So actually, I have a hipster moment of Zenith, which actually kind of can substitute it for a hipster moment of Nadir, and then I have actually a nice uplifting story. But so the hipster moment is Zenith or Nadir, whatever your take is. All right. So we haven't talked about NBA basketball. We've talked about a lot of NCAA basketball, but not NBA basketball. Now we have talked about prospects that we will be watching in the NCAA tournament, like Zion, like Barrett, like Jay Morant, and so forth. However, which teams will be getting those players? Well, teams, of course, like our New York Knicks, that are doing their darndest, their absolute darndest to lose games. The New Orleans, it's actually not about the Knicks, though. The New Orleans Pelicans. Anthony Davis isn't even playing. I don't even know who the hell knows. He's resting. Oh, he's resting. He's very tired. We have to give him rest. Well, anyway, the New Orleans Pelicans, this was, I believe, on last Friday. It was either Friday or Saturday. Played a game against the Phoenix Suns. The score in overtime was 136 to 133, 7.7 seconds on the clock. The Pelicans, up by 3, had the ball, right? Now, what would you say the chances of them, if they're trying to win, Mr. Hip, and I know you want me to, but I have to prolong this, I'm sorry. What percentage would you put on the Pelicans winning the game, up 3, 7 seconds with the ball? 95, 98? Something like that, right?
90.
90, fine, whatever. High percentage. What happens? Well, they get whistled for, what is it? A 5-second violation. You didn't inbound the ball to a guy that's just going to get fouled and have to hit one free throw to win the game. No, instead, you get called for a 5-second violation. Okay, that's all right. That's okay. We can regroup, right? We're gonna play defense now. We're gonna foul because we have a foul to give. New Orleans had a foul to give. If we foul, we put the other team on. We put the Suns on the line. They hit 2 free throws, or they try and miss, but they're still probably not going to be able to win the game because the sensible thing is to foul. Nope. They don't foul. They let Josh Jackson, get off a 3-pointer, with the most half-hearted attempt to get in his face, and he hits the 3. It's a tie ball game. All right, fine. They tied the game. That's okay. 1.1 seconds to go, tie game. New Orleans has the ball. there's a little confusion to the viewer. Oh, what's going on here? They inbound the ball. There's the ball rolling because, the clock doesn't start till you pick up the ball, right? That's the old trick. Roll the ball into the half court. But no, there's a whistle. Why? Why is there a whistle? Well, apparently the New Orleans Pelicans, despite knowing that they had no timeouts and that if you call a timeout when you don't have any, that's a technical foul. Ask Chris Webber on all those years ago in the Fab Five. They call a timeout. Oh, my God. Are you people out of your minds? No, they're not. They call a timeout. They have called for the technical after the referees get together and say, yeah, they called a timeout, even though they don't have one. That's technical foul. Ball to the Suns. Free throw to the Suns. Shoots the free throw. Hits the technical foul free throw. And the Suns win the game 137 to 136. Oh, Pelicans, I hope you lose the lottery and you end up picking 8th. If that does not scream tanking, trying to lose, I don't know what does.
I am completely confused.
About what?
The Pelicans are 31-42 as of right now with a 425 winning percentage. The Suns are 17-55 with a 236 winning percentage. You're talking about the Pelicans trying to lose with a much better record than the Suns. Wouldn't it be the reverse? Wouldn't the Suns have not tried that three-pointer?
Yeah.
The Suns are 17-55. How could...
It's a good guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess the Suns are at least trying to give the appearance that they're trying to compete and win games, where the Pelicans decided in this game in overtime upset.
Pelicans, I mean, they're not. Their record isn't that bad. They're 9-under. It's not like it's that.
Yeah, but they increased their chances. Unless you're saying that you don't think they were trying to lose, and you think that's
I don't
the
know
way
what
the
I'm
ball
saying,
bounced.
but the fact that they lost to a team with, I think, the second worst record in the NBA.
Oh, the Suns are awful. The Suns are terrible. And you're right. New Orleans, they're not gonna finish with one of the worst. They're not gonna finish, in the bottom 3 or for wherever they are right now. I don't even know, who cares. But I mean, obviously, every game they lose, they will increase their chances of being able to move up to the top 5, maybe 3.
Team.
Yes, but I mean, look, this is perception. This is the appearance. It's not like the Pelicans were like, yeah, we tried to lose. Fantastic job we did, huh? We pulled it out. I mean, but the fact that you can get called for a 5-second, not foul if you foul, you will probably win the game. And then you call it out when you know how can you not know you don't have a timeout and you call a timeout? And then you lose your
at least it's not unprecedented.
Oh, it's hysterical. I'm sorry. I thought that was worth it. I just got a kick out of it. I thought it was hysterical.
Okay. All right.
And then we'll cap it off with a nice uplifting story. Matt Boyd, is he on the fantasy radar? The Detroit pitcher, right?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is Detroit's terrible, but he is a very high upside starting pitcher going into the season, yes.
All right, well, anyway, so Matt Boyd and his wife, Ashley, actually have participated in saving dozens of girls in Uganda from sex slavery and trafficking through they have a nonprofit called Kingdom Home This Link. And I'm sorry, Kingdom Home. There's a copy of the link. Kingdom Home is the name of their charity and their nonprofits, and it goes towards trying to bring girls in Uganda to the United States that get caught up in the awfulness that is sex slavery and trafficking. Something that we, Bob Kraft, hello, Bob Kraft, got caught up in himself, and we'll see how that story plays out. But it was a very good story. They've rescued a dozen girls, I think, something like that. Dozens of girls so far, and they will be making another trip there after this coming season is announced by Matt and Ashley. So kudos to them. And there you go, Zenith, Nadir, and that will take us to the final segment of the week, everybody's favorite, yours and mine, and that would be the Hipster Beer of the Week. And what do you got for us, Mr. Hip?
Well, before I get into that, it's a nice story, nice thing to conclude on there. But Matt Boyd, let's follow Matt Boyd a little bit this year. I mean, there's like this 1,200-word article on Matt Boyd breaking down his arsenal from last year and how his fastball velocity went up and he started tinkering with a slider and how he has a good foundation. But if he has it back, he's a southpaw. but there's potential of him following the footsteps of Patrick Corbin in the evolution of his arsenal. So.
Ooh, the evolution. All right.
All right, hipster beer of the week. Back to this theme of shelf beer, good shelf beer, and this is beer that I found in a store in Manhattan. Toppling Goliath Brewing Company is the brewery, and their flagship beer is called Pseudo Sue. It's a pale ale, but this is a double IPA called Hop Smack that I found in the shelf. This brewery is based in Iowa, and they're starting to distribute better, I guess, because you were lucky to find any Toppling Goliath like on draft anywhere. But now
so lucky to find Toppling Goliath.
Yes, of course, it wouldn't be. So, this is more of a West Coast style IPA, not your hazy East Coast style. A little, darker, a little more bitter. Described more specifically. Giant aromas of pineapple and tropical fruit jump from this enticingly complex double IPA. True to its name, this brew delivers a heavy smack of dry hops and a double dose of bitterness in the finish. So maybe a little bit better described from the brewers themselves. Toppling Goliath. Thanks for sticking around with us once again. Of course, remember to like us on the Apple Podcast app, or rate us, I think is the more appropriate term. I don't know if you could rate us on Spotify if you listen to us there, but thanks for listening. We'll be back with baseball previews next show, some breakdown of the NCAA, and whatever else.
Yes, actually, one last final thought. We talked about the emissions scandal. Well, I forgot to get this in, so I'm going to squeeze it in right now. For those that, if you stuck around for the entire show, I'm going to leave you with my best. Operations Dawson's Creek. That was the name of the operation. And if only the kids, Aunt Becky and the other one and all the kids would have just said to their parents to quote Dawson, James Vanderbeek in Varsity Blues. Wait, what did I say? Operation Dawson's Creek? I meant to say Operation Varsity Blues. Whoops. When Dawson said, "I don't want your laugh," you should have just said that, kiddies. All right. Thank you very much for listening. And Mr. Hip, we will see you next time.
Yes. Buffalo, Michigan. Oh, God.
You gotta borrow my hat. I gotta borrow your hat.
Oh.